jobs we're glad are obsolete. You might think sitting around all day and being yelled at by your boss is a pretty shit job, but it's nowhere near as shitty, literally, as some of the jobs we are glad are now obsolete. So, let's take a look. Number 6. Leech Collector. Sometimes a job can feel like it's sucking the blood right out of you, but in the old days, getting your blood literally sucked right out of you was an official part of the job. In 19th century Europe, leeches were often used for their medicinal purposes. And of course, there needed to be someone to actually collect those leeches. Thus, the Leech Collector job was formed. These leech collectors would go stand in some of the most polluted rivers in Europe, as that's where the leeches thrived, and they would use their bare legs to attract leeches to them. Their job wasn't to collect just one leech, but a dozen leeches at a time. Each session would result in significant blood loss, infections, and everything else you could imagine. This was a low-class job as well, so the pay wasn't really that great either. Ugh. Number 5. Herb Strewer. The time between the 15th and the 19th centuries in Europe is often marked as a time when the continent saw rapid development and accumulation of wealth. This was when the royals got really freaking royal. Cities started to fill up and the population boomed. But at the same time, there was no such thing as a piped sewage. This meant that all of the rivers in Europe, especially the River Thames in London, were filled with poop. This led to a massive stench wherever the river flowed, which was pretty much all of London. Eventually, a job was placed in the royal palace for an official herb strewer. This was a person that used all means necessary to mask the awful smell of London from the royals, using flowers, powders, chemicals, and anything they could find. Number 4. Dog Whipper. We've done it. We've finally found an occupation in which every single employee is going straight to hell. Before there was stray animal population control in the industrialized world, stray dogs used to roam the streets of Europe as if they owned the place, as they should, but unfortunately, churches didn't like that. A lot of churches around England would hire specific dog whippers to make sure stray dogs didn't get too close to the church grounds, and their job was to whip any dog that would even get close. But I think we can all sleep better knowing where the dog whippers are these days. Number 3. Rat Catcher. There are all sorts of jobs even to this day that carry a large risk of death. This was obviously also true for the Middle Ages, but there was no job that was as dangerous as that of the rat catcher. Rats at the time carried a little disease called the bubonic plague. You know, that little disease that killed half of Europe and plunged it into the Dark Age? It's no shocker that a job like rat catcher existed at the time to prevent the spread again. But the demand was so high that it was often one of the few ways people in the peasantry could become rich, if they survived, that is. Number 2. Sin Eater. Religion has been a moral compass for people around the world for millennia. But of course, even during the age of theocracies, rich people could find ways to get rid of their sins without living a pious life. That's why social outcasts from around the world were hired for one specific purpose: to forgive the sins of their rich overlords. They were known as Sin Eaters, and as their name suggests, they would eat literal sins. Usually, a piece of bread would be placed on their chest by the sinner, and this would represent the sin. If the sin eater would eat the piece of food, he would take in the sin and have the actual sinner be forgiven. It was a way to buy your way out of hell. Number 1. Groom of the Stool. As we mentioned, a lot of jobs can be described as shitty, but none of them can be as shitty as this one. British royals during the Middle Ages loved to smear crap all over their populace, but in order to do that, they need a pretty healthy stool, right? Well, that's why an official royal job called the Groom of the Stool existed. This person's job was to help the royals poop. They would often stand with the royals as they did their business, giving suggestions like, maybe try to move your leg to the side a bit? Believe it or not, this was a very prestigious position, since the Groom of the Stool was closer to the monarch than any other employee in the building. However, it slowly phased out during the 20th century. What a royal load of shit. Thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more videos like this, please like and subscribe. And as always, see you on the next one.